1 minute and 20-second intro now.
Oh, sorry. I had to go a little long because I'm still eating this tornado.
I know. I noticed.
It is fucking full to the brim. This is a tornado dick. Look at that fucking thing.
It's quite girthy.
It's heavy. This is as heavy as I've eaten
Dense.
half of it. This is okay. Dense.
No, I'm saying it. I'm adding. I'm not trying to correct you.
It's heavy and dense.
Got it.
It's heavy because it's densely packed with fucking goodness.
With sputum meat.
Oh.
And now we have to pause. So be right back.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now
that I'm full of tornado energy.
Mm-hmm. Tornado fierceness.
Oh God, that was a good one.
I was full of power. Yesterday I was full of power. I had my power sandwich.
Yeah. Oh God, that looked delicious.
It was so powerful.
Oh God.
So there's a new sandwich at Dunkin' Donuts that literally looks like
baby vomit.
Yeah, they dropped uncooked bread dough in a bird feeder and then just let it sit till it got hard enough to be used as bread. And then with very, very green eggs. I guess there's vegetables in them, but the vegetable color has bled into the rest of the egg. So, but boy, was I powerful for that small period of time.
It looked awful. Oh, man. Oh, I was so hungry. I had such a long day at night. Did the whole karaoke thing and then got home super late and went to sleep. And then I woke up and I was like, God, I'm so hungry. But I had to do stuff here.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about one of my favorite topics. Conspiracy theories.
Go on. We were talking about this in the car a little bit yesterday.
Yep. Now, we spoke a little about it yesterday, and I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole. Not because I subscribe to this idea, but it fascinates me that people can subscribe to this, and it also I like to find some positives in it. So I watched a documentary on flat earthers. Now, this was more of a fluffy kind of look at it. Let's just say there wasn't a lot of hard math. Did you watch it?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
I was gonna say I can't see flat earthers really encompassing a lot of hard math.
Well, again,
period.
That's true, but it focused more on the people and their relationships with each other within these groups, these flat earther groups, and it was more of like, it was more of a story driven piece about people who don't have a place in society and always felt they were different and found
morons.
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah,
It
just sounded like you were describing morons.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for the most part.
The moronically disenfranchised.
Right. So they find friends and relationships in these groups, and the belief in the flat Earth kind of seems secondary. It like takes a back seat to people who get to reach out and talk to other people. Like there's a lot of people that have who are antisocial and have a hard time talking to people, and I think a lot of them at least they didn't believe it at first, but found a way to talk to people and get to know people who felt like they were on the outside, maybe a little antisocial. And then over time, we're like, you know what? Yeah, why can't the earth be flat? Kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like the KKK.
Exactly. I mean, without all the lynching and stuff, but...
Yeah, I mean...
But it's still relatively early in the movement.
Yeah, it's a young movement. But they'll get there.
But it was fascinating because these aren't what you would call educated people, And I'm not saying I'm the most educated, but I mean, math is math. Science is science. I mean, I will be the first to say that the verdict isn't always in on all of science. There's a lot of things that are like, we're pretty sure this is kind of how we think. these things, but math is fucking math. Like it's very hard for me to listen or to really get on board with a flat earther, if there's no math involved. It's like, well, if I'm looking here and I'm looking over there, I shouldn't be able to see that because there's a curve. And it's like, what the fuck? That's 10 miles away. What? That building is 30 story. Of course you can fucking see it. Can you see the lobby? Is the question? No, you can't. But you can see the building. They use archaic observational methods. The things people were using hundreds of years ago when they didn't have telescopes and things like that. They just use their fucking eyes. And they're like, okay, well, I see this. This is here. The earth is flat. Why is the earth flat? Well, because it's all I see. It's just flat. I have nothing else. Now, some would say that neither do you or I. I mean, I'm no mathematician, so I can't verify the math that they're telling me in school that, yeah, of course the earth, here's the mathematical equation. It's 28 lines, and it's like, looks like Greek, and I've never been on a spaceship. Or I've never been outside of the stratosphere or the exosphere. I've never been out there to see the curvature of the earth. So what is it? Why do I believe in it so firmly that it is round?
Because the liberal Jew media told you that it is.
The Zionist Jews.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, that's where flat earthers are going. They haven't gotten there yet, but they will. Pretty soon it's gonna be the Jews' fault. They'll get there.
Well, I think it's fascinating. I think that a group of and this is not a small group.
No, unfortunately it's not.
And I know there are some fucking celebrities that are like, yeah, the Earth's flat. Yeah. Like,
well, the good news is that, well, the good news and the bad news. The good news is they're not really hurting anybody by being stupid. The bad news is unfortunately, unlike anti-vaxxers, they won't all die off eventually.
That's true. Because of gravity.
Right.
Yeah, this seems more harmless of the ones, but I think misinformation in any form has the potential over time to be harmful. Like, what if these fucking people start breeding?
Well,
and then they teach their kids, and their kids teach their kids, and then all of a sudden, our little couple 100,000 problem turns into a 36% of the fucking United States, and then it's like, whoa, I mean, then it's overwhelmed. Did your cat learn to speak? What was that? It sounded like a moan. Was that a ghost?
I don't know what that was.
Did we get that on? Did we get some EVP?
I don't know what that was.
That was the fucking weird. What the fuck was that?
I have no idea.
Maybe your dog yawned.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
We're going to go with that. So, you're describing what happened to get to our current political situation, but not about flat Earth, just about brown people being bad.
Sure.
Because people are racist, and the racists elected the president, and the president's racist. Anyway.
Well, see, he's not racist.
No, he is. He's
not racist.
He is. He doesn't even hide it.
You can show me any sort of statement while he's been in the office
where he supports David Duke.
Where I don't
the former Grand Wizard of the KKK.
Former.
I don't think he's reformed.
Former.
I don't think he's exactly changed his beliefs.
Former.
I don't think I don't think he left because he didn't agree with the KKK anymore.
Okay. I like Chipotle. Does that mean I hate gay people?
No. What?
Okay. Not Chipotle. Chick-fil-A. Sorry. Chick-fil-A has come out to be anti-homosexual.
Yeah,
I eat there. I like their food.
Right.
It's good.
No,
Sometimes I can separate.
You have reconciled in your mind that you're okay with modestly supporting an organization that doesn't like gay people because of the immediate satisfaction of the delicious chicken.
Okay. So why can't he support a person who just so happened to hate black people and brown people and yellow people
and the Jews?
And the Jews.
Yeah.
So,
So what's the delicious chicken in this transaction between the
well,
two
we
of them?
don't know because I don't have that kind of relationship
David
with David Duke.
David Duke giving him the good chicken.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't necessarily think that the people that you support necessarily makes you into that
I mean, there's a
person.
little bit of a difference between random dude going and spending $10 at Chick-fil-A and is quote unquote supporting them versus the sitting president of the United States refusing to denounce the former leader of the Ku Klux Klan. I think it's a little more direct support.
I think that he is not directly a racist.
Oh, he's hugely racist.
I don't think so.
He said all kinds of terrible shit.
Like what?
Say, anyway,
Pull
get back to your
Okay.
propaganda about Jews.
Listen, you can call him a lot of things, but I don't think racist is one of them. He's not. I mean, he may not be the most eloquent, but anyway. So, conspiracy theory. I enjoyed the documentary. I thought it was a little fluffy. Sister Dazzle sent me a different, more grounded in, if you want to call it that, science. But I think the greater, and I haven't watched it yet, but the greater picture for me is that in this situation is there's a fine line between questioning authority and questioning the school system and the government and complete denial of, factual based evidence. So I am all for questioning everything. Don't believe a word the government tells you. Don't believe a word the school systems tell you. Don't believe anything. You can read it. You can do the homework, but question everything. If something doesn't make sense to you, and don't just go, meh, look it up, read about it. I'm all for that. I'm all for people having different, like viewpoints on flat earth, for example, raising questions. I'm okay with it, but there are some things that are undeniable. There are some things that are pretty unconspiracy. Like what would there be to gain
From the Earth being flat?
from the earth being flat and everybody lying about it being flat?
What's beyond the ice shelf?
But
So we should explain a little bit. I've done some looking into flat Earth stuff, and I've had somebody that I've regularly communicated with who's into every conspiracy theory known to man. And so the thought is that the Earth is a flat disk, and at the center, the very center of the flat disk, is the North Pole. Everything spreading out from there is everything as we know it today. So if, let's just say the center of the disk, and on the left side you have America, on the right side you have China, right? And then, Africa and whatever's the Pacific Ocean on the other side, right? So that would be like the four poles. That's not exactly right, but that's how you would look at it. And then if you go as far out as you possibly could, what we would think of as south, you run into a gigantic monumental ice wall, known as, or what they refer to as, the ice shelf. So what they're saying is the Earth is a flat disk. You can still circumnavigate the globe because you're basically just traveling the oceans around the center point of the circle, and that it's just a flat circle rather than a sphere. That's essentially the assertion. So there's all kinds of theories like, well, what if the Earth is actually 100 times the size that we've been told and we perceive it as, because what's outside the ice shelf, right? Or what's on top of the ice shelf? What is this? Is this a closed ecosystem? Does the ice shelf actually represent the end of the boundaries of the Earth, or is there something beyond it? What's on the bottom side of the
turtle?
Yeah, a turtle.
We're riding a turtle's back.
Exactly. All theories to me from flat earthers sound like a turtle theory. Yeah, there's a turtle. We're on a turtle. That's what it is.
Well, it's all. I mean, from what I've seen in some of the YouTube rabbit holes that I've been down and read, a lot of the flat Earth theories don't really involve math. or science at all. It's just observational. And then
You're talking about flat earthers? Or?
yes, flat
Okay.
earthers. And anytime you give them a, okay, well, how do you explain, if this were a disk in space, the gravitational pull, that's why everything's a sphere in outer space.
Right.
Everything is a sphere because
Except
the
for
center
here.
of mass.
No. This is the only flat disk.
But then that's the
in
thing.
the universe.
And then they will say, "Oh, well, gravity's a lie. The gravity is not constant or whatever." And it's like, it's like anytime you try to give them the math or the science, they'll either refute it with, "Oh, well, that's fake. Oh, that's just what the schools, big school, big edge you,
big edge,
big edge just taught you about that gravity shit.
Yeah.
That ain't real." And then you can't really fight, or you can't really argue with a person like that because there's nothing you could say or do.
I've said this to you before, right? I've said to you before that I've had conversations with some people about different topics, one of which being gun control and the Second Amendment, and how the Second Amendment, the second half of the Second Amendment says that it's in order to keep a well-regulated militia. Right. And so
Right.
I was talking to somebody about gun control, and they're like, well, it says a free and unobstructed right to bear arms. Like, yeah, in order to maintain a well-regulated militia. Like, do you consider yourself to be a member of a well-regulated militia?
That's not what it means.
That is what it means.
No, it's not.
Read the fucking words.
I know the words. That argument is brought up all the time with gun control. And I get the argument.
You're doing it right now.
But
you flipped this. Well, you didn't let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
So to finish, when the second somebody says yes, I flip the idiot switch in my brain, and I immediately recognize, oh, I'm talking to an idiot. I can't use normal words and logic. Oh no, Cole, you're an idiot. I get it. Understood. And so that's sort of what I'm saying when you're talking to somebody about flat earthers and you try to give them actual scientific evidence, and they're like, oh, it's a conspiracy, it's a hoax, whatever. It's like, oh, you just flipped the idiot switch.
Well, yeah, I would never say I'm part of a well-regulated militia, but
Right.
that's not. But it's not. The intention of that line wasn't to say the only people that have the right to bear the arms are people in a militia. It is the people should carry guns to protect themselves from an overbearing government, because if the government decides to come with their guns to take away your guns or your rights, you need guns.
Okay, so these are the actual words of the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, comma,
shall not be infringed.
Right.
So what it means is the militia has their guns, but in a time where their guns... What are you're shaking your head because you know I'm right.
That's not what the sentence says.
That's what it says.
That's not what it says.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, right? Okay, so we have our police. We have our armies, our navy,
which are not
whatever.
militias.
Whatever.
But they're not militias.
Okay, but that's fine. But I think under the current 275 years later, I think we'll just encompass those in militia.
See, I don't put myself in a position to be able to infer upon what the founding fathers
I'm not
meant.
inferring. I'm just saying that I'm fairly certain that most people would consider the police force part of a well-regulated militia.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay? So they are necessary, obviously. But the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So
it doesn't say but the right of the people. It's comma. It's
Okay.
all one sentence.
Yeah. Okay. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Right. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Yeah. What
So
don't you get about that
it's
sentence?
referring the people
It's
that
not
it's referring
to the militia.
Yes, it is.
First of all, it's not referring to the militia.
The people that it's referring to are members of the well-regulated militia.
No, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Right, as part of a well-regulated militia.
No, that's
I'm just reading the words, bro.
no.
Just reading the words.
No, I know though that is what the words are.
I mean, I'm no mathematician. Just saying.
I'm not, and I would love to talk about this for
There's a whole lot of, there's so much text here about what different people through the ages have thought it means.
and that
It's a shame that most of them are wrong.
They're not.
Just like
You're
you.
so stupid.
God, it's a
You
shame.
could just listen. You could just read all that. I bet you that fucking article you just pulled up will say the same exact thing I just said.
I'm betting that's one of the wrong interpretations
Okay.
that it lists.
All right. I'm not going to talk about this anymore with you. I'm not.
So back to
anyway.
flat earthers.
Good Lord. I'm going shooting on Sunday.
Nice.
You want to come?
I don't think we have anything going on. Where are you going?
I don't know. Someplace. I'll get the info for you. Because Mrs. Dazzle's friend's boyfriend likes to go shooting, and he said, "Hey, you guys want to go shooting?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't care." And then I actually thought of you. I was like, "Hey, we should invite," because
22
on the dot. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
I was in my own zone. I wasn't even. I didn't even realize we were recording in my head. Anyway, so I'll get you the information on that. But anyway, conspiracy theories. So flat Earth blew my mind, but it leads me into.
Was that the first time you'd ever heard of it, or the first time you ever looked into it?
No, it's just the first time I ever gave it any thought. Anytime I heard anybody say anything about flat Earth, I just immediately just stopped listening and caring.
Right.
You know, it was in the news pretty prominently a couple months ago when a couple of like athletes came out, and I think like Shaq came out. That's a fat police officer. And they all came out to say, yeah, so the Earth is flat, and then it got some traction, but I don't usually give it any thought. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to ask you on your opinion of all of the conspiracy theories from the beginning of time. What's your favorite? Or what's the one that you believe in the hype? You believe the conspiracy?
9/11 was an inside job.
Yeah, that's your one?
It's my one. If there's one that I've looked into the most and have seen the most evidence for, I would say that would be the one.
And that's a good one. That's a good one because that is on that fine line for me. That's on that fine line of, I mean, these are legitimate questions people are asking that nobody can answer. And
no, but the thing is, it's more than that. Nobody will answer because you're unpatriotic if you even ask the question.
Right. Well, that's the argument that's the argument that they like to use. Anytime anybody gets uncomfortable in if you bring up anything in religion, it's faith. You just have to have faith. If you don't believe in anything the government says, you're unpatriotic. If you criticize anything in the military, you're unpatriotic. And then they pull that card on you so that, then where are you going to go from there?
Yeah, I'm just unpatriotic. It's okay.
But I think the majority of people from, 2001 to now, I think a good portion, a big portion are like I think a larger portion believe it is an inside job.
How many things can you type into Google that do not come up with a suggested search? How many things can you type into Google that don't come up with nothing?
Anything.
That come up with nothing. Right.
Zero.
When you type 9/11 loose change into Google, which I've just did, and you're seeing it, nothing comes up. Nothing.
Let's see.
So now if I hit enter, it'll take you to the website about the documentary about.
You're talking about autocomplete, auto-suggestion.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
You could type you could type the letter A or whatever. You could type anything in there and shit comes up. A very specific thing that it totally finds immediately when you hit enter, nothing comes up in the suggestions.
And well, of course. That's because they fucking don't want you to watch this.
Right. The guy who put this out, so 9/11 Loose Change is an documentary that was made in like 2005 by just a guy, and he put it out, and he started getting in trouble because of some of the news broadcasts he included in it. He was getting sued by the big media companies and things like that.
They're trying to pull the whole copyright stuff, right, even though it is transformative and you can't.
Exactly.
Yes.
So he basically got shut down there, and then he just like the idea that 9/11 was an inside job came out as a just this anti-patriotic bullshit that And I'm not one of those people that's just steel can't melt steel beams.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that. If that were my only talking point, then
it's a good one though.
yeah. If that were my only talking point, yeah, I could understand you writing me off. But this documentary. I've seen a couple of them, but this documentary that I watched has a lot of very articulate, cogent points.
I don't think I've ever seen this.
You should.
I
have it. I've had it since it came out.
I might. Well, I'm looking at the date. It came out in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about the balls someone would have to put this out 3-4 years after the event happened.
Yep.
Like that's pretty soon. That's pretty soon to come out with a conspiracy. Hey, but you believe what you believe, and you come out with, I might have seen it because that was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
So I probably have seen it. I just forgot. But I've seen plenty of. You know what I like? I mean, I like articulate, intelligent people talking about something like this. But I also like controlled experimentation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched people with like actual steel I-beams and the ones that were used in the building, and I've seen people doing controlled experimentation on how to melt with thermite and all these other things to get them to, and that is what I like to watch is people and it's not necessarily saying that that's how. If it was an inside job, it's just another way of questioning. Like, we're not saying that these beams were blown up, controlled with thermite explosives like this, but they could have been.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's interesting. I'll have to see if I've. Oh, Alex Jones was an executive producer.
Was he?
It's right there where your cursor is.
Says Daily Griffin brought in script and Alex Jones and Tim Sparkle of Mercury Media were executive producers of the third edition.
Oh, okay.
I've seen the second edition, which is
Okay.
the one that you were seeing on the
Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he said he was going to distribute it in 2007, and Charlie Sheen was going to narrate it. However, it didn't happen. Bill O'Reilly interviewed Cuban on his radio show and said that Sheen's career would be over if he narrated it, which plot twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's.
I haven't seen the third edition.
Mark Cuban always sparked. He always struck me as a question everything.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he's a bajillionaire, he's still like just question everything. Like don't take anything at face value.
I love Mark Cuban.
Yeah, I like Mark Cuban. He's a interesting fella. I mean, he's one of those people who, if you could ever use the term self-made millionaire or billionaire, which I don't think that anyone exists, but he'd be pretty close.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, so you're 9/11.
Yeah, if I had to pick one conspiracy theory that I buy into, it's that.
That's a good one. Yeah. Me personally, I would have to say that there's two. There's one that's somewhat obscure, and there's one that.
It's that what? Paul is dead.
No,
wasn't that the Beatles one?
Yeah, that'll be. Well, there's a lot of those though. A lot of people said Paul is dead. A lot of people say Avril Lavigne is a lookalike.
The kid that did the Batman shooting. It's not really him.
The Batman shooting.
Do you remember the guy who shot up the Batman, the Dark Knight
Oh
Rises?
yeah,
that it's a
Aurora,
different
Colorado?
it's a different guy in custody than the guy who shot it, who did it, and that was a false flag, and that I don't believe these. I'm just saying these are other ones that are out there.
There's a lot of weird ones.
Not Parkland. Is it Parkland? The one with the school? Sandy Hook.
Sandy Hook.
Sandy Hook was a false flag, and there were actors just walking in front of backdrops and shit like that. These are all things that I've heard, not
those are all out there. I think they're interesting. I think when people come out and question, I mean, listen, I'm not saying that Sandy Hook didn't happen. I'm not going to be one of those people, but I will say that some of the some of the people, have been in other tragedy videos and stuff under different names. Yeah, I've seen it. They've shown it. And that one kid who is the David Hogue or whatever his name is, became the mouthpiece of gun
That
gun
was somewhere
control.
else. That wasn't Sandy Hook. That was Parkland.
Oh, was that Parkland?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sandy Hook. I mean, again, I would have to be on the side of, yeah, that happened, but I don't put it past the government to do something like that. I wouldn't put it past to push an agenda to, if the government wanted to come and take your guns away, how would they do it? First, they would instill fear and do those things, and then give a reason to come and take everyone's guns away.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying that that's what happened, but I don't think it's wrong for somebody to question it. I don't think it's disrespectful either for someone to question it. If you know, or you have a family member or a loved one that was involved in something like Sandy Hook or Parkland, it's a terrible tragedy, but we can't just questioning these type of things is important, and you just can't trust the government to give you the truth. You can't trust news to give you the news.
Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore,
Since
so
the repeal of the Fairness Doctrine.
Oh God.
But yeah.
The only news is YouTube news, baby. That's
right.
it?
BuzzFeed.
Oh God, BuzzFeed. Yeah, well, if I want to know 9 ways to
fist yourself.
Fuck a pickle. I don't know. These 9 ways to fuck a pickle really put your...
Pick which way you're going to fuck a pickle, and we'll tell you your horoscope.
Oh, my God. We'll tell you what actress you best represent. So, yeah. It's the... Okay, so my 2 are... that the... I don't want to say like the lizard people theory, but I will say that I do believe that aliens came down from wherever. Oh, you're already... I think you spelled it wrong, but...
Oh, by the way, Anunnaki comes up when you type it in as a suggestion when you type it into Google.
Yeah.
Loose change doesn't.
That's weird, isn't it?
Weird.
Yeah, I believe in the theory that alien beings came here in the early stages of man, and I mean, I don't know if I would go so far as to say they breeded and all that other stuff. That stuff I don't know, but I do think that there are a lot of things in our early man that would suggest that we were taught certain things, told certain things, and then it kind of jump-started, humankind from, Homo, whatever you call them. I want to say Homo sapien. That's not what I want to say. Cave people.
Yeah.
Hunter-gatherer, cave people. No form of...
Cro-Magnon.
Yeah, sure.
Cro-Magnon man.
And in less than, I don't know, 10,000 years, 5,000 years, however long it was, we're building societies, and I think it's very likely that someone had to come teach us that. But the other one, which is much more interesting, if you've never heard of it, is the Philadelphia experiment.
I can't say that I have heard of it.
Oh, my friend, you must.
I'm not saying I don't know what you're talking about, but I've never heard of anything referred to as that.
The Philadelphia experiment. What is a story on a ship? I think it was the USS Philadelphia. I think that's why it's called the Philadelphia experiment, or it took place in Philadelphia. I don't know. But the government was testing cloaking technology for their battleships.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a test ship that they fitted with, and I'm somewhat ignorant on the science of it, but some sort of electromagnetic fields that would bend light, so that it appeared like the ship was not there.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did the ship disappear, but it ended up like 500 miles away. And when it reappeared 500 miles away, the crew suffered from like insanity. Some of the crew members were said to have been fused to the ship, like inside the hull of the ship, or died shortly after of like radiation poisoning and like things like that. And the small number that survived didn't survive longer than a few years.
So what's the conspiracy theory there?
People that they say it never happened.
Philadelphia experiment.
Oh yes, an alleged military experiment.
Let's go right down to skepticism.
Skepticism. There was no USS Philadelphia ever registered in the U.S. Navy. I don't know.
Skepticism show. Oh, cold reading, communicate. Okay, I'll have to look more into this. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. At the very least, really interesting, because back in the, between I would say between the 40s and the 80s, that 40-year span.
Oh yeah, we were dabbling with all kinds of horrible shit
from the Nazis.
Yeah,
because what happened to all the Nazis? All the Nazi scientists and highest ranking officials that escaped Germany, they came here to work for us.
You ever heard of Unit 731?
No. But
this is not at all a conspiracy theory.
It's a real
hoax.
thing.
This is 100% real. Unit 731 was a unit. I'll see how quickly I can pull this up so I can just read you the synopsis. Unit 31 was a covert biological and chemical warfare research and development unit of the Imperial Japanese Army that undertook lethal human experimentation during the Second Sino-Japanese War of World War II. Mm-hmm. Basically, this is, if you think, like, obviously concentration camps and everything like that were horrific and terrible on a mass scale.
Allegedly.
Unit 731 was just as horrible and horrifying and bad, but on a smaller scale.
What were they trying to do?
They were just doing every kind of terrible, fucking horrible experiment on people that you're not normally allowed to do. So the first section, vivisection, while they're alive. Thousands of men, women, and children and infants interred at prisoner of war camps were subjected to vivisection without anesthesia and usually ending with the death.
Wow.
Then vivisections were performed on prisoners after infecting them with various diseases. Researchers performed invasive surgery, removing organs to study the effects of the disease on the human body. These were kept alive because it was thought that the death of the subject would affect the results. They're talking about keeping people alive, operating on them without anesthesia, removing organs after infecting them with disease. Then there's germ warfare attacks, frostbite testing, syphilis, rape and forced pregnancy, weapons testing.
Oh, well, you need to test the rape and forced pregnancy, obviously.
Yeah. And do you know what happened to Unit 731? Let me just read you the name of the section. Surrender and immunity.
Oh.
There's a subsection known as American Grant of Immunity. And it's a long section, but I'll summarize it. Basically, we said, all right, what you guys did was bad. But now you have all this data.
Right.
Give us the data, and we'll give you immunity. Okay. That's effectively what happened.
That's tough.
Right. So, as part of the information and personnel that we gleaned from the Nazis during World War II, we also got all this other horrible shit about what happens to the body when you take things out of it. So there's all kinds of terrible, terrible shit that went on that gave us research, basically, that we never would have done on our own for good reason.
Of course.
To be able to try even crazier shit. Like another huge conspiracy theory, which isn't a conspiracy theory, but the continuation of it is MK Ultra, which is mind controlled by the CIA. Now, MK Ultra is a real thing.
That shit's real. Yes.
but they talk, they say that it ended. It's like the Jason Bourne thing. Like, yeah, we acknowledge that these experiments took place initially, but we stopped them on such and such date, blah, blah, blah. Whereas in reality, they're saying that MK Ultra has continued, and it's used on everybody from like Lady Gaga and Katy Perry and Beyonce to it's embedded in movies. And
one of the theories is that Lee Harvey Oswald was
yeah, and it was kind of funny because Mythbusters did an episode on that to see if somebody could fundamentally act against their will while hypnotized, and they're like, nope, it's impossible. And I wrote them an email like, see this, and this from Darren Brown, because Darren Brown did a exact like 1-to-1 recreation of a scenario where somebody was hypnotized against their knowledge and got them to.
That's hypnotism. That's even less invasive than what MK Ultra.
Exactly. We're not talking about dissociative personalities. We're talking about just with an audio trigger. This person reached under their seat, pulled out a gun, and pulled the trigger till it clicked. They set up the scenario where he wasn't actually going to kill somebody, but he was hypnotized, and when they brought him out of it, he knew no difference. And that's the same thing that what's his name that you just said, Lee Harvey Oswald. That's the same thing that he said. He said I thought I was at target practice.
Yeah, he was. You can even tell after he was caught. Yeah. That he was not himself, or he was not in it. Exactly. He looked like he was under the influence of like narcotics.
And like when they interview him, he's like, nah, I was at target practice. I don't know, I was at a shooting range.
Right.
That's where he thought he was. So anyway,
very interesting. Mm-hmm. All right, so those are mine. Mm-hmm. Yours is 9/11. So real quick before we go, what's your least, like, what's the one that you hear that makes you go, like, just roll your eyes so far back in your head that you could like see down your spinal column? Like, what is the one?
I mean, flat Earth is up there. I've never really thought about the most annoying, off-putting. I've never thought about it. I would for the moment, I'm gonna go with flat Earth probably. I don't know. I've never really thought about it.
Yeah, it's always a tough one to think of the one that.
Does Christianity count?
Sure.
Catholicism?
I mean, that's
because that would be up there.
I mean, you could say that's somewhat of a conspiracy.
I mean, it's not a conspiracy.
It's Christianity. What about just religion in general?
Well, organized religion.
Religion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, kind of. Like that's because I do immediately check out when people start like seriously referencing religion and faith and stuff. I'm just, oh God, I can't talk to you. Can't do it.
Yeah, but
that's just me.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I think that's the one that, I mean, I was thinking more along the lines of organized religion in general, but yeah, that's always a very trigger for me. Like, I just can't listen to it. I don't subscribe to it. It's all a hunk of shit. Oh, honorable mention, the moon landing.
That it was fake?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to honorable mention that one because I'm not going to be a tinfoil hat wearing person and say that it was faked, but I will say that I don't know. And I will say that the evidence that I've seen and the footage and the stuff I've seen from fucking 69 or whatever it was, I mean, it could have been very well faked.
Yeah, Mythbusters did that one too, and they said it was real, but that it was plausible.
That's because the big government.
Yeah, big edge.
No, it's plausible. I mean, it's plausible, and I agree with that. But it very well could have been faked, and no disrespect to the men and women and the astronauts who made it happen if it did happen, because that's not what it is. Like, I'm not one of those people who would have ran up to Buzz Aldrin and be like, "You're a fucking fraud," like that one guy did and got punched in the face. I'm not going to do that. I will
Well, yeah,
say,
you wouldn't want to get punched in the face.
yeah, Buzz Aldrin, he passed away
He did.
a few years ago. But up until his dying day, that was a tough motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Tough motherfucker. And I don't discredit anything that he's done or any of the other astronauts by saying that. I just question it and I say it's possible that this was faked. I'm not going to say Stanley Kubrick did it and he puts little messages in all his movies, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that
I'm okay with the Stanley Kubrick explanation. It's fine by me.
it's very interesting. If anybody listens to it and they don't know the full fleshed out tinfoil hat craziness of that, is that Stanley Kubrick directed the moon landing, but was unable to obviously say anything about it. So in every subsequent movie that he made after, he put little nods to the moon landing and him being, directly directing it.
How do you feel about little nods known as? If you start looking for it, start looking for how many different places you will see a poster or a reference to a movie called Metropolis.
That's a good movie.
Start looking. Just start looking in your daily TV shows that you watch, movies that you watch. It may not happen right away, but once you see it and once you notice it, you are going to see it everywhere.
Why do you say
Metropolis?
that?
It goes back to the conspiracy theory about MK Ultra and the Illuminati control of society. Is Metropolis is a movie about the dehumanization of people and then becoming robots and things like that, and that's essentially the Illuminati controlled filmmakers' ways and their nods of throwing it in there to point it out.
So it's like a wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll see it fucking everywhere. It's in you can, I'm sure you could Google and find a whole list, but like it's in the movie Hackers, it's in the movie or in the show How I Met Your Mother, it's in like a ton. It's in The New Girl, it's in a ton of shit. You will see that poster fucking, and I guarantee if you saw the poster, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I've seen that before." Guaranteed, because it's everywhere. So, anyway, on that note,
want to go through your rigmarole?
Yeah. So we are on YouTube. We are on iTunes. We are on Spotify. We are on Google Play. We are on podparadise.com. We are on Twitter at RAZZLDAZZL show. And our website is therazzledazzleshow.com. So.
All right.
Take it away.